My sisters and brothers, how wonderful that so many of you are here this evening to pray. I certainly wish that there was something that we could do that would unwind the time of this day and that we would be able to repair the great hurt that has occurred. If I had that power, I certainly would do that. But my brothers and sisters, I'm hoping that in the absence of that our presence, the coming together of so many people from so many places and so many traditions, would provide some support, some consolation to those who have lost loved ones in this morning's event, to those whose children or parents were injured and who are still in the hospital, to all of the young children who were there for Mass today. I hope that our prayers this evening might give them a sense that they are not alone. I was very moved as I drove over this evening to see how many churches were having prayer services this evening, so many of our Protestant brothers and sisters. I've received messages today from the Jewish community, from the Muslim community, and I know that there are representatives from both of those groups who are here. How wonderful to have our governor and our senator and those other public officials that remind us that what happened at Annunciation isn't just something for one parish or one community, but it's something that has an impact on our whole community, a much broader community, on our whole state, on our whole country. In the course of this day, messages have poured in from around the country, and indeed even from Rome. And I'll read later Pope Leo's comments for us. But I'm hoping, brothers and sisters, that the fact that there are so many of us here this evening coming together in prayer, we know that there are a lot of other things that need to be done. We need to be able to address these issues in civic society. But what we do together tonight is to pray. And we look for the words that are able to express inexpressible grief. We look for those symbols that might bring some hope. We've turned, and I'm so grateful to those who have prepared our prayer this evening. We turn to the Hebrew scriptures, those psalms that give us that entryway, that give us those words, those times when we're most desolate, when we have so little encouragement or hope. It's in that time that we're able to, as we turn to the Psalms, to ask for God's goodness. Isn't that what we sang? With the Lord there is mercy and the fullness of redemption. Call to him in your trials. He will answer whenever you call. This evening, brothers and sisters, we come together in our trials, and we trust that God will answer us, that he will hear our pain, that he will hear our prayers, especially for those who are most affected by today's celebration. Now, brothers and sisters, I think for most of us, we would say that we turn away in the presence of pain and suffering. It's a natural response for all of us. Turn the head, cover the eyes. And yet the gospel that we heard tonight, which is the gospel of the Annunciation, and that's the name of the parish and the school where this tragedy occurred. The gospel of the Annunciation reminds us that we have a God who doesn't turn away from pain. In fact, we have a God who embraces pain. We have a God who took on weak human flesh. How much more vulnerable could our God become than to become an infant or to dwell in the womb, to need a mother and a father, and then to live in such a way that he would be put to death on a cross? Jesus knew that. We have a God who embraces us in our pain. Jesus did that not because he likes pain, but because he loves us. He loves all of those children who were in that church this morning. He loves their families. He loves the shooter. He loves all of us, brothers and sisters. And it was out of that love that he, on that day of the Annunciation, took on human flesh, took flesh in Mary's womb, so that he could be with us in moments like we're experiencing this evening, moments of great pain, of great puzzlement. Nobody has the right words this evening, but we know that we have a God who loves us and who's with us even as we suffer. I couldn't help but notice, I prayed at Annunciation before the church today, that there's an inscription on the front of the church that's been so horribly desecrated by the loss of these lives and by such senseless violence. On the very front of the church, it says, House of God and Gate of Heaven. The house of God and the gate of heaven. How is it that such a terrible tragedy could take place in a place that's the house of God and the gate of heaven? It's unthinkable. It's unthinkable. But we brothers and sisters trust that it's precisely in that house of God where we're most at home, where indeed we're able to find hope. How meaningful that Annunciation School this year chose as their theme that there would be hope, a beautiful quote from the prophet Jeremiah that speaks about hope. How is it that we begin a school year focused on hope with a tragedy like today? How is it that we can find hope even in that place that was desecrated, that's denominated House of God and Gate of Heaven? It would not be unexpected if we, like the psalmist in today's responsorial psalm, with souls cast down, would find ourselves wondering, where is our God in all of this? I can understand why someone could resonate with the psalmist's question, why, oh God, have you forgotten me? The Annunciation, however, gives us Christian hope precisely in a moment such as this. We're reminded that we have a God who can bring new life into the womb of a young woman who has never had relations. A God, moreover, who can enable a barren woman to conceive even in her old age, Elizabeth. As the angel said to Mary in the Gospel, for nothing will be impossible for God. I'm praying this evening, brothers and sisters, that our God will indeed do the impossible, that he will bring healing into the lives of those who are forever changed this morning, that will cleanse the memories of the innocent children of Annunciation School. He will cleanse the memories of the teachers and pastor and deacon and staff who were all present, the parishioners who were there, and that indeed he will help them and all of us to trust in his Son Jesus, who knew unmerited suffering and who died for all of us. Now, the inscription on the church, on the one hand, can describe the building, Annunciation Church, as a house of God and a gate of heaven. But it also refers to the young woman at the center of this evening's gospel, Mary of the Annunciation. There's a beautiful statue of Mary right under that inscription at the front of Annunciation Church. Mary's willingness to be faithful to the Lord, even in a plan that makes no logical sense, enabled her to become a dwelling place, the house of God, and enabled her to be that gate of heaven. Well, if you're like me, you might be struggling in understanding what God's plan could be for us in all of this. The example of Mary, a mother and a disciple who knew great suffering in her own life,